What's up, YouTube? Sanchez405 coming at you with another Warpath review. Before I get started, I was talking about the defensive lineman in the previous video. Just failed to mention Stephen Paya, the defensive end who came over from Chicago last season. Paid him a lot of money. He was hurt. We'll see how he does. He needs to be effective, especially for the price point that the Redskins purchased him at, and we'll see how he does, and hopefully he'll come back from injury and bounce back. The guy was touted when he was in college, and that's what drew the Redskins to him coming out of Chicago back in 2014, coming in 2015 season. But this video is all about the boys in the middle, the linebackers. Really just starting off, who would have thought week one that we started with Keenan Robinson and Perry Riley Jr. and wound up these guys being healthy and being backups to Will Compton and Mason Foster. I mean, Will Compton was there last season in 2014, and he made the roster and everything, and you know, he just balled out. He did really well. They said he's good at communicating the signal and making sure people are in position, which is that Mike linebacker's primary responsibility. He's the quarterback of the defense. And Mason Foster, he came out of nowhere, man. I mean, I'd heard of Mason Foster from his time in Tampa Bay and Chicago. I thought he was, you know, fairly serviceable, but this guy came in, 1-year contract, basically revitalized his career. If you get him on Twitter, he's a pretty cool guy to follow on Twitter. I've seen a lot. I'm very impressed with him. I think both of these guys received a bonus, not a bonus, but a parking space this offseason, and spreading out to the middle. Sadly, Junior Galette tore his Achilles again. I think this project may be over for the Skins as far as Junior Galette goes. Guy had a lot of promise, had a little character issues. Well, not really a little, he had a lot. You know, I was a little hesitant about that after seeing that video of him pulling his belt out and whipping people. And there have been some rumors spreading around about who the Redskins would get to replace him, Dwight Freeney or Greg Hardy. And I'm be honest with you, Dwight Freeney makes more sense than Greg Hardy. One, he's been in that linebacker position in the 3-4 defense. Greg Hardy, he's basically been a 4-3 end. Second of all, with Greg Hardy, the man's a cancer. He's a coward. He's a cancer. Anybody that puts their hands on a woman, you know, or anybody who's less than defenseless than they are, isn't a man, and he doesn't deserve to be on an NFL team. Granted, they do that shit in Dallas. We don't do that here in Washington. And I hope, you know, the discussions weren't, you know, too deep or too serious. If anything, go with Dwight Freeney. I seen Dwight Freeney in that All or Nothing series in Class Act. That's why that guy keeps on getting calls. So we'll see how that goes. I think if we don't find someone, it's going to be Preston Smith, and this guy, rightfully so, he came out in the position, did really well, had 8 sacks, had a lot of those sacks against Sam Bradford and the Eagles to clinch the division last year, and we'll see how that position goes. And on the opposite side, there's not a question. Ryan Kerrigan, the showstopper, boys and girls, 9.5 sacks, a little disappointing. Needs to be getting double-digit sacks, 13, 14 sacks, so he needs to bump that up about 5, because really 5 sacks is the difference between winning a game and losing a game nowadays. So maybe he can get up and still pick some off like he did early in his career to take him back to the house. Really, some other guys who, you know, are needing to be mentioned. Steve Daniels, he was the draft pick from Boston College in the 7th round. Terrence Garvin, they picked him up from, he's going to be more of a special teams player, especially with Adam Hayward not being there. He was released. He was supposed to be the special teams captain, but the poor guy tore his ACL twice in 2 seasons, in 14 and 15. So they had to let him go for obvious reasons. Garvin comes from Denver, where they had good special teams and good defense, and that's why they won the Super Bowl, and that's where it starts. So it comes over Vernon Davis, also Martell Spaeth. This guy, he was hurt for all of last season, was on IR, was hurt in week 1 against Miami, and I've read some good things about him. I'm really excited to see him in week 1 of the preseason, see how he's going to produce. Also, looking at another guy, I can't remember, Big Country, Houston Bates. If that doesn't sound like a linebacker name, I don't know what does. He is good, serviceable. He was good on special teams at times, and he also was credited with a safety last year. So that's pretty good for the guy who was undrafted and whatnot. But they have some other practice squad player. I call them camp bodies, excuse me, and I really do think it's going to be set. I think 3/4 of this linebacking core is set starting wise. I think Will Compton, Mason Foster, they've deserved it, especially what they put in Ryan Kerrigan as well. Preston Smith, I think he will be the 4th piece unless they pick someone else to back him up, but I think he's going to be the majority starter, and that's what they drafted him for in the 2nd round, and they were surprisingly pleased. Maybe they might bring Trent Murphy up sometimes in some situations if needed, but I think his position will be mainly on that D line. And just wrapping up here, getting ready to go over this secondary in the next video. So you'll hear my thoughts on Josh Norman and everybody, and what we can expect from there. As always, love, peace, and hail, and I'll be talking to you soon. I'm out.